Hi everybody, this is Greg with the Dice Must Flow. Welcome back to another episode. And today we're going to take a look at a board game. I had an opportunity to meet with this game designer actually 3 years ago at Gen Con. He showed us the game. I really liked it, but at the time, budget and all that, I wasn't able to pick it up. Recently saw it on a sale, picked it up, and played it with a group of friends. We really liked it. And so this game is called Nautilus Industries. In Nautilus Industries, you are running a company that has submarines that go out to the bottom of the ocean and mine particular gems and minerals. And so this is a stock market manipulation game where you're trying to mine those gems and minerals and then sell stock, buy stock in different companies, and the player with the most money at the end of the game wins. So let's go ahead and take a look. As you can see, this section of the board, we have the undersea area where you're going to be searching and looking for particular gems. You're going to be mining for those. Over here you can see we have 4 different player boards, and the game is for up to 6 players. Each player has a player board. The board has 3 subs on it and a dice which represents your warehouse capacity. Over here you can see the stock market, and so this game is very much a stock manipulation game, and you can see the shares of stocks that you can buy in the different companies, and we'll talk about that. Over here is a gem bag which I just spilled a bunch of stuff from, and this gem bag is going to be to replenish the gems that are going to go out into the undersea area every turn. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what a game turn might be. Okay, let's look at a player card, and the player card talks about the actions that you can take. And so each turn there's going to be a first player token, and each turn going around you're going to have to take 3 actions, and you take turns 1 action at a time per person. So blue was first person, it would be blue take an action, then green take an action, then red take an action, then purple take an action, and repeat for all 3 of your actions. And what are the actions you can take? Let's go ahead and take a look. Your possible actions are: you can place a sub out to an area, you can upgrade your warehouse capacity. And what is that? Upgrading your capacity is going to be updating this number from 1 to 2, or just adding 1 to that number. You can switch 2 gems out in the undersea area. You can switch the mining zone order, or you can purchase stock. So let's go into those a little bit. What do we mean by that? So if we look out into the undersea area, you can see that there's gems located. Gems for gold, beryllium, nitronium, Illyrium, and iron. And they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you place a sub, for example, if blue was going first, he could place a sub and decide that he's going to go out to here and he's going to gather iron. And in the collection phase, the sub is able to collect 2 gems. Let's consider the action switch 2 gems. For example, if green could go and he could say, I want to switch this gold from that board and put this green back from that board. Right now that's not a good example of why you would do it, but later on we can do that. Switch the mining order. In the game, you can see there's these numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's the order in which gems are going to be mined. So everything on this board will be mined first, and then everything on this board, and then everything on this board, and then everything on this board. And so what you could do is, if you had, let's say red was out here, and he was on the black gems, and blue is over on those black gems, red would like to be able to get the black gems first before blue gets them. And so he could switch this order, and it shows that it's locked then, because once a player switches, it's locked. And that means this board all the gems on this board will be collected first. And then the final action is going to be purchasing stock. And you can see there's stock certificates here. And we'll just kind of look through one of them, the blue, and that's beryllium. And you can see that there's these stocks have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 shares. And when you purchase a stock, you can only purchase a single piece of paper. So it has the cost on it. For example, this 4 shares costs $18, or 3 shares cost $13. So the action to purchase stock can purchase one single piece of paper. So obviously if you're able to purchase the 5 or the 6 ahead of time, or with one action, it's going to be much better for you. Basically a much better action efficiency. Warehouse capacity. Let's talk a little bit about the warehouse capacity. So when you mine gems, you're going to pull them. Blue would pull these 2 back to his board. And he might have a different sub out. Let's say he had these 2 blues over here. So he had these 4 gems on his board. So his warehouse capacity is 1, which means he can save one of these 4 gems until next turn. In the market phase, which we'll talk about in a little bit, he would have to sell 3 of the 4 gems that he has. And selling gets us into talking about the market phase. So in the market phase, we're going to, first thing we're going to do is collect commodities. And this market phase goes buy board, order board. Now remember we talked about switching the board order, and this is why you might want to do it. So for example, when we had these gems out here, like this, and we had red out here on board 1, and he made that switch, so we would go in board order, and I'm going to add a couple other things out here, other subs, where subs are gathering stuff for this, walking through this example. So red had changed the board order, in this case to board 1. So red is going to be able to collect all the commodities on board 1. So what you do is you go collect commodities in commodity order. So starting with commodity 1, gold, you collect it, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. So red is going to be able to collect 2 blues. I'm going to move his red's board up to here. So red is going to collect 2 blues and 1 iron, and purple is going to be able to collect 1 green, which is Illyrium. So once everybody has collected gems, you're going to go in player order for players to decide whether they are going to sell gems. So player 1, who for example was blue, he doesn't have any gems, so he would not sell anything. Then player 2 would have the option, then player 3, then player 4. Red has 3 gems that he's mined, and he can only store 1 of them. So he might decide to store the black one. And if you look over here, you can see this is the current market price of each of the different colored gems. And so blue is worth 5. So blue, he might sell the 2 blue for a total of $10. And there's these these coins that you have that he would get. And then it would go to the next player. So after the red player has sold, the purple player would have a chance to sell his 1 green. Now he's only got 1 gem, so he's going to hold it. In the stock market then, you would adjust the stock and the commodity volume. For each color, count the gems sold and adjust the market board. So in this case, 2 blues were sold, and so blue's price would go down 2. Increase each marker by spaces equal to the number of corresponding gems sold. So down here, we have our stock value marker. And so since we sold blue, it would move up 2 to the stock value. If after board 1 is done and nobody sold anything, gems that were not sold are going to go up in price. So blue didn't go up in price, it in fact went down, but the number of gems sold went there. And then this would continue for board 2. That's his board 2. And again, Players collect in player order. They sell. And just because the purple may not have, he's got a, I'm almost out of the screen here, but the purple may have a green gem, and he may see that he can go ahead and sell it at this phase, even if he didn't mine up here this turn. So he could sell commodities that he has on his board. And so there's a lot of take that, I guess, or trying to figure out what people are doing and changing the order, because basically you want to pull the high value stuff. For example, in this one you would want to go to the oranges, but you'd be one of the first players who want to sell the orange and get the most money for it. Finally, we get to the upkeep phase. And in the upkeep phase, you basically take the gem bag that we have here, and you can see there's really some, like you can see these components, and you draw 5 new gems for each board and place them. And so things that weren't mined before, for example, that orange wasn't mined, it's going to get a build up there. And so people are going to go to them, especially if the stock value is high. Let's go ahead and talk about the end game condition. The end game is basically when one stock marker or gem type gets all the way up to the end, then the game is going to end. How do you win? The winner is going to be basically the person with the most money. And how do you get the money is going to be based on the value of that stock and how many shares you have. And you can see, I'm going to move this over for the camera. You can see these numbers down at the bottom is how much each share of stock is valued. So if down here the stock is valued 0, if it's up here, the one that ends the game is going to be valued $10 a share. And so like I said, you're going to be buying these stocks, and hopefully you're buying the big ones. So you'd have 6, let's say blue was the first one up there. Blue would have 6 shares at $10 a share, but he might have a 6 and a 3. So he'd have 9 shares of blue, would be worth $90 a share if one player had owned all that. And so you're going to have turns where players are going to be buying these stocks and pushing the value up on the stock track. There is a rule that talks in the stock increase phase, the commodity values. You increase each marker by spaces equal to the number of corresponding gems sold. But if the starting value is in here, then you move 1 fewer space. And if the starting value is in here, then you move it 2 fewer spaces. So you have to actually sell 3 gems to get it to move one up here. But if you sold 4, it's going to move 2. And that's basically the game. We played this, I played this with the designer at Gen Con a few years ago, and I really liked it. But we didn't get it, limited funds and all. But we did pick it up recently and played through it and really enjoyed it. I got to tell you, the component quality, is awesome. These gems, these are really cool. No paper money. You look here, the money is nice chits, and I like they came up with a small chits for the dollars and stuff, and so good quality money components. The subs probably are the worst thing, but they work, and that's pretty much it. I did want to say there is one actual action you can do where you could basically place a sub on a board, for example, and then you can say, I want to place a sub here, and you could pay $5 then, and then you can draw any color gem from the bag and say, well, orange is really high, so I'm going to do that, and so now I'm going to get an orange. And a lot of times you'd be doing that on that first board, and so you can guarantee that, and it's a way to get 3 at a time, but you can guarantee that you're going to be selling that guy high. You're always in a bind here with your actions. You're limited to 3 actions, and you have actions where you want to mine, you have actions where you're going to want to buy stock, and you have actions where you're going to want to increase your capacity, because having a limit of 1 really limits what you can do. You're going to have to sell, even if the gems are low, you're going to have to go ahead and sell. And then you have the ability to switch your subs or your gems to what you need, the order. And the order, I think, is probably more important than switching a gem. And so you're always going to have to balance. Am I going to buy a piece of paper? And like I said, it's a single piece of stock paper. So buying these shares of one are probably not very efficient, but in the beginning of the game you don't have enough to buy more than that. And you know, those ones and twos can add up at the end of the game. So this is Nautilus Industries. You're basically having a submarine going down and mining the bottom of the ocean, making money. Just a fantastic little sort of worker placement type game with a little bit of take that. And as a fan of 18xx, and I know when I talked to the designer, he was a fan of 18xx and stock market games. This is something you're going to want to take a look at if you like stock market games. And so I highly recommend it. Go ahead and take a look on it. And I know it's been out a couple years. Its price has dropped significantly. So you can probably find this in the $25 to $30 range. And for that price, this is something you ought to be grabbing. So that's our little take a look at Nautilus Industries. I hope you liked it. As a reminder, go ahead, if you liked this video, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. So that's it for now. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks.